and welcome to another Roblox tutorial. My name is Terry Shelley. Today I thought we'd start doing something different in Roblox. For the last couple of episodes we've been following the tutorials that you can find in Roblox Studio, and we've been making things like a tree, a door, windmill, that kind of thing. But I wanted to start looking at something a bit more complicated, very complicated for me, which is scripting in Roblox. Because while it's great just building things, that's going to create a rather stationary world. And what we want is to eventually create a game where things happen in the world and that you can interact with elements. And for that, you are going to need scripting. Now, there is a guide for scripting. There's a lot basically on the Roblox wiki. But in one particular section of the wiki that I've been looking at, and that's wiki.roblox.com, is the cookbook. And the cookbook basically takes you through a lot of different sort of problems, scripting problems and solutions, so you can start to get to grips with how you go about scripting in Roblox. And so I thought maybe for a couple of episodes we could follow along some parts of the cookbook and learn how to do some basic scripts. And they will be basic, and I will be learning because I'm no expert on this. I'm going to be following along with what the cookbook says and just trying to make it work. I did a little bit of Python a few months ago, but I've forgotten everything I learned. Roblox uses the Lua language, and I've got no familiarity with that at all. So I'll very much be a beginner, but I'll be at least going through the cookbook and seeing which parts make sense and which bits have to be fiddled with. Because if you're a complete beginner coming to this as well, that's probably something you'll discover. So let's double check everything's recording okay, and yep, that's fine. Let's go back into Roblox. Now, I've just sort of changed the windows around a little bit. If you go into view, there's lots of different things in the view tab that you can bring up, and I've pulled up the output window, the command bar, which I don't think you can see. I don't think that comes up on, in fact, I can turn that off. So the output window, Explorer and Properties. And I've had to move the windows around so that everything is captured with my open broadcasting software so that you can see it on the video. So we've got the output window here, which we'll be using, the Properties window, which we'll also be using, and the Workspace window. Sorry, Workspace, the Explorer window that we'll be using, with the first item in that is Workspace. Basically, I mean, what we've been doing up until now is just getting a part and plonking it into the world. So we've gone into model or home, got a part, block, there it is, move it, there's our block. We've just created it like that. When we do that, if you look in this Explorer window here, the workspace, which is basically everything that's in the world, now has a part in it. If I go back to that part and delete it, that part disappears. So in that workspace is everything that's in this world. Terrain, camera, base plate. When you select on base plate, for example, in the Properties tab, it tells you things about the base plate. I changed the brick colour here. It says sand red because I changed it when I first opened up. But if I want to, I can make it brown, or I can make it nice gold. I think I'm going to make it oyster. No, don't like it. Let's go back to medium stone grey, which I think is what you start with. So you could do all sorts of things with the base plate, with the camera, with the terrain, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to all of that at some other point. But it's within this workspace that we're going to be putting any scripts that we want to work, particularly any scripts that we want to perhaps create objects within the game, because the workspace has got everything that you can see within this window. So if we want a script in there that can produce an object to see in this window, it would be within the workspace that you put that script. And that's the first thing that we're going to do. Right click on workspace. If you go down to sort of midway, you can see insert object and pick script. So we have a script here. If we click on script, and again, I'm going to double check that you can see this. You should be able to see the script window, yeah, and it says print hello world. If we actually did run that just as it is, go into test, play, play. There you are. Our little girl lands in the world. But what's important here is the output window, which says hello world. Okay, so we'll stop that, go back to the script, which now has got its own little window next door to baseplate. So we're in baseplate, now we'll move over to script. And all that says is print hello world. Very basic in the Lua language, print hello world, and it prints to the output window. But what we want, according to the Roblox cookbook, which I'll open up now, in the first instance is to create a part in the world that stays stationary. I'm just going to copy and paste the script it gives us. So what I'm going to do here now is Control C that bit of script to copy it, and let's pop over to Roblox and Control V to print it. Just going to check that you can still hear me talking because I had a bit of some problems earlier on pressing Control and muting. Okay, so what we've got now is in this script, which is in the workspace, let's call it a parent folder. It's not really a folder, it certainly doesn't look like a folder, but it acts like a folder. So let's just call it a folder. So we've got a script that's in the workspace folder, which means that what it does, if it says to produce a new part, it'll show up on the base plate in the game because everything within this workspace shows up in the game. So in this case, this is the word in that they've given us, instance.new. And I believe that, certainly according to the cookbook, that within Lua and Roblox, when you say instance.new, what you're saying is create a new thing in the game to show up in the game. Instance.new is the wording they use for that. And in brackets, we're saying what it is and where. So it's a part, which is what they call a brick within Roblox, and it's in the workspace. So that means it's going to show up in the game. And .anchored equals true means it's stationary. So that is the syntax for that using the Lua language. So if we go into test again and play, there it is, a little brick. You can't really see it because the ground is the same colour. So, but it is there. And we're going to change this colour in a second anyway. So there you are, we've got a little brick. Okay, going back to the cookbook, the next thing now is to create same part that stays stationary, but it's now going to be semi-transparent and coloured red. So Control C that bit of wording. Go back to Roblox. Where's my script? There. And let's just Control V it down. Okay, so we've copy and pasted the new wording over. It says local part is within the instance. There is a reason, I think, why it's now sort of changed that opening line to call it a local part rather than, I think, a global part. And this is something to do with the syntax, which means if we didn't say local part here now, whenever we refer to the part, we'd have to give it its full address. And its full address, if it's a part within the workspace, is workspace.part. But I think by opening the script up now with the syntax local part, it just says, just look within the script for information about the part. It will be in the workspace, but you don't then have to use the syntax workspace.part all the time. I think that's why we start off now with local part, which is a different bit of wording than we used before. That's how I've sort of understood it anyway. But what we have here then is a local part, which is a brick, instance.new, a new one. It's a part, it's a brick, it's in the workspace, which is where we're working, and that means it show up in the game. Part.anchored equals true, so it's stationary. And these are the two new bits. Part.transparency is 0.5. I think 1 is invisible, so half is obviously partly invisible, just a little bit transparent. And the way it does brick colour is part.brick colour equals brick colour.new, and then in brackets bright red. All of the script can be found on the wiki, so it's just a matter of plonking it into this script here and having a general understanding of how it's working. That's about all I have. So what we should see now is, yes, lovely little brick, semi-transparent, and it's what's called brick red. Or is it brick red or bright red? Bright red. Right. Then the final bit we're going to look at from the wiki is now applying the touched event. So I'm just going to copy and paste the script again. So let's go back over into script. Do the whole thing. Right. Oh, I took away my brick colour though. Hang on, let's go back. So undo. So I don't want to lose the transparency and the brick colour. So the first two lines are the same, local part, instance, new part, workspace, and it's anchored, so we can get rid of that because we've got them already. I'm keeping in part transparency, 0.5, and the brick colour being bright red because I like the colour of the brick. But this is the new thing, and this is what's called the touched event. Now, what it wants is for something to happen when the player touches the brick. Now, in future, that could be that the brick explodes, the brick takes away health, the brick gives the player a power-up, the brick gives the player lots of Robux or whatever. It could be anything. For the purposes of this script, because I'm just learning, the cookbook is saying what we need to do is just print to that output window over here the message, brick was touched, so we know it's happened. So what we've got here is an event and a trigger and an output. And we do that with the syntax, part touch, that's straightforward, the brick was touched, and that connects to a function, which is basically a something that needs to happen. In this case, the output, print part was touched. And then the message end, which is the end of that particular function. So the script is part.touched. When the part is touched, you connect to a function, and this particular function basically just is the printout within the output window, part was touched. And that's basically what those 3 lines there do. And again, you can get that from the cookbook. So if we test it, she lands on the brick and straight away we've got in the output window, part was touched, part was touched, part was touched. We've got a couple of different messages. Move. Because I think it's each of our limbs touch it. Let's clear that window, which you can do by right clicking and pressing clear output. And let's just do a run towards that brick. There you are, part was touched. Perfect. So going back to the script, what we have now here is just how many lines? 4, 5, 7-ish lines. The first one just says create a new part when the script runs. When the script stops running, the part disappears. It only exists when the script is running. So create a part that appears when the script runs. So it's a local part. It will appear in the workspace because in brackets we've got part workspace. So that's what's created. An instance.new is like the creation message. So create a part when this script runs and plonk that part in the workspace so that it appears in the game. Then part.anchored is true, means it's stationary. Part.transparency is 0.5, means it's semi-transparent. Part.brick colour is brick colour new bright red, that is bright red. And then it says, let's create a touched event. So part.touched. What happens when that event happens? Well, it connects to the function print part was touched, which prints the message part was touched to the output window. And that's our first little script within Roblox. Nothing too extreme. I mean, it is the Lua language, which I don't know. It's getting my head around the syntax. The basic thing was you're in workspace, you right click, you create a script, and that's where we put in all of this information. The output window is then open, not only to see messages we may print, but also to see any errors. And the properties tab will be, or properties window will be important as we proceed, but also more generally if we want to just change some of the properties of some of these objects in the workspace. Okay, so that's the first couple of entries in this cookbook. Definitely worth having a look and trying it yourself. On the next episode, we'll go a bit further down to look at how you kill players and how you remove limbs. And we'll see how we go with that. Then it talks about handling non-existent objects, which in and of itself sounds complicated. And then creating a kill brick, which is what I was referring to just now. So, this lovely brick we've got that says path was touched could become a brick that actually kills a player when you touch it. So we've got a couple of new things we can look at. In the meantime, you may want to look at this cookbook yourself, but what I'll be doing is working through it and probably coming across bits and pieces that I don't understand, and as normal, fumbling my way through it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.